All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Boomer Talk podcast. My name is Jordan. You might know me as One Up. My co host is Taylor, aka Somebody's Gun. And today, our guest is a professional caster, streamer. Um, did you not like the professional term? I
It's
mean,
still a little new. Still a little new.
I consider it. I consider it. He's been on the official Fortnite broadcast multiple times. Thank you for joining the podcast, Clay.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to be here.
So let's start out talk a little bit actually about casting. I wanted to talk about what maybe the best route for making Fortnite a career at the current moment. So like, is it content creation, competitive play, casting, coaching? Um, I want to hear both of your guys' perspectives on that. Clay, do you want to start us out?
That's a hard question. I feel like I get this question a lot in just regards to people coming in chat being like, "Hey, how do you get started streaming?" Or, "Hey, how do you get started this?" I think the space is very saturated, so you have to come in with a unique idea. You can't come in doing the same thing everyone else does and expecting it to work because this streaming and Fortnite and everything revolving around that is a business. Even if you don't see it that way, it is a business. All these transactions happen on a daily. So you have to come into the space with a brand new idea and something that'll really help you, as well as consistency. So whether it be competitive play, you need to be consistent at it. Whether it be you need to be consistent at it. Whether it be if you want to do casting, be consistent about putting your content out there. But all of it is essentially content creation, other than competitive. I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. But like casting, coaching, streaming, all of it is content creation all together. You're creating some type of content for people to watch, to consume, to use in a way to help them or entertain them. So for Fortnite, I don't know. I started out I started out streaming in PUBG and then got into Fortnite, and then I did content for a while and then went into competitive, and now I'm towing the line on both of them. So I that's a hard question. I'd say comp just right now because it seems like a lot of the viewership, other than on some channels, like my channel is a lot focused on just me, which is I'm very grateful for. It isn't the same with some people I know. If they switch to arena or if they switch to pubs, it's like it messes up like who's there. But luckily, I got very lucky with the people that are supporting me and people in my community that I can switch back and forth between, and it doesn't really impact how the chat's going and how we're feeling. So I feel like towing both of them, but comp, I feel like right now is the better like starting point to getting into Fortnite career because you can make content and make money from the game.
Taylor, do you have input on that?
Um, no, I mean, we've kind of discussed this before as to the opportunity competitive players have with that platform. So when you're succeeding at the competitive level, your name's being broadcasted into tons of different mediums, whether it be like the media, Twitter, actual Fortnite throwing out your name. It's definitely a huge opportunity that you have that I don't think a casual player gets to take advantage of. And even all these tournaments like Emad, Mongrel, Benji, Mr. Savage. I don't know. I didn't know before who a Marcotte and Jacob were, but they're all
Yeah.
focused around the competitive side, and I think that's where we all come from at least. Maybe we've branched off and have started to do different things, but I know personally, like I found Clay because he was posting his clips of casting. I was like, damn, I like this guy. Like, let me see what he's actually doing. And glad to see you're still, out there casting and having a good time, Clay. But I tend to agree with his takes.
Yeah, I also like Clay's story because he came from another video game, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, but it's so it's so power like if you have the power to build up a community and then gain enough like trust with them that they switch with you from one game to the next, that's so huge. And then like that allows you to do things in the future. Like Clay said, he could go from arena to casual to casting, and his community generally stays with him. And even like his community is here right now on the podcast, which is awesome. And yeah, so like building that community is such an important thing, and we've talked about it before. I don't think enough competitive players really take advantage of that opportunity.
I agree. I like a lot of the players don't stream, and if they do, it's they don't look at chat. They just focus on the game. And like I know, like when you're box fighting and you're just going through creative motions, like there's more than enough time to sit there, look at chat, and be engaged and be there. Right? We see Zayt now streaming more, which is something really good for him, and we see him getting success. Bizzle's doing it as well. They're two of the biggest names that just didn't stream. Right? You see Kanata clicks up there. Benji is streaming now more as well. It's like people are starting to realize, like, hey, wait a minute, if I grow this up, more people are gonna grow on my other platforms as well. And that's what you see a lot on Twitter is like that. Now you start seeing 50%, 100% complete, like milestones of being bigger and bigger on those platforms because they're taking advantage of engaging their community, reaching out and connecting with them. And that's something I got from, like I mentioned to y'all before, I was on YouTube first. So I started out on YouTube streaming and then came over to Twitch. A year ago, I fully came over. But on YouTube, it allowed me to build that community. And then bringing it over to Twitch, it allowed me to build a new and stronger community with more people just through being able to put like, I don't know, it was like a legitimacy thing. So now that people are starting to, build their communities up, gotta keep, I don't know, I'm rambling. My points are going all over. But
No,
yes,
that's what you're here for, Clay. Like we want your opinion, your thoughts. That's why we asked you to come onto the show.
My points are, yes, being on a different platform and coming from a different game does allow me to have that community, and I'm again very grateful for it. But I think I agree. A lot of people take it for granted. Wrap it all back to that point somehow.
What about? I want to hear Taylor's opinion on kind of like the coaching scene.
So like, I only got into it. Like, I plan on coaching just because people have asked me to help them. And I saw it as an opportunity to make some money and continue to help people. But for me, like, I see content creation as like the long-term solution or possible career. There's a handful of guys. I mean, you have Destiny Jesus, you have Speedy. I'm probably missing some, but like those are two of the most notable. And those have been like only two people who have really made a career out of it. I mean, Timmy out in OCE still has to work a full-time job. Maybe he could support himself from just coaching, but that's not a possibility, at least from what I've seen following him at the current moment, or maybe he just enjoys his job. I don't. He could just like the grind of doing both. So like I like coaching simply because I like to help people, and I think I'm able to and effectively get across the message to provide certain players insights into the game. But I honestly don't know that I'm good enough at what I do to coach at the highest levels. Like, just to be fully honest, I don't put the time into it to coach the top players in the world. I think where I fit is, that medium, trying to get into the competitive scene or just starting out or been stuck at like, I don't know, top 1,000 placements. I definitely think I could provide help there. As far as the rest of the coaching scene goes, it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, there's a lot of coaches who hide what they do because they think that's a good idea and they don't want to share their strategies. But then at the same time, they're not able to effectively message and brand themselves because they're not sharing the work that they do. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. If you put out your content and try and educate people on your strategies, your thoughts, how you perceive the game, then you're also kind of hurting your own brand because you're not really giving your clients secrets as to what's inside the game. And that's something I personally have struggled with, is like, where do I hold back and not make a video on, as to like give it to the people I'm working with. So that's what I got.
Yeah. Now, and I think you also touched on a pretty good point that even and there's a ton of coaches out there, and I'm sure like a lot of them make some amount of money, but only the top probably couple of them really could turn it into a career. Um, and it's sort of the same way with actually playing the game competitively. Like there are a ton of players who have made some money from it, but if you go to like Fortnite Tracker and look up the top earners, like I don't know, top like 100 earners might have some significant amount of earnings, right? Or maybe even less than that. Um, so yeah, that's definitely something to consider. Like I think content creation is probably very underrated. I don't even want to say underrated, but I feel like it's probably the most important thing and most realistic way to turn it into a career. You guys have anything else on that topic, or do you want to move on to the next one?
No, we can get going.
All right, cool. Taylor, you want to introduce the next one?
Yeah, so in a similar vein to what we were just talking about, Epic has been very hands off as to what's going on in the competitive scene. They've put on these tournaments, but up until recently, they've kind of let people do their own casting, even when there wasn't events going on. They let third-party tournaments happen. They let practice be run completely by an outside third party, and we've seen good and bads of that, right? It works well in NA, and EU still can't seem to figure out how to practice. So, but even NA is having its own issues. There's lots of third party opportunities and open, almost like an open policy that Epic allows people in. There's not many barriers to entry like we see in certain just businesses or industries. So I was just trying to see what your guys' thoughts were about, is this a good thing? Is it awesome that we don't have franchises and anyone can essentially hop into the scene? Or do you think that kind of holds it back as far as the competitive scene goes, because we don't have the legitimacy of, org supporting certain things, Epic organized practices, and, a seasonal ladder or a season besides FNCS that is supported by Epic Games?
Personally, I think it's interesting what they've done. I would rather that I would like them to just like kind of financially support the third parties in the scene, right? Like it's good that we have kind of people just making their own way in the competitive Fortnite scene, like casting and whatever it is, making practice servers and stuff like that. But I would like those people to be financially supported so that like there's, I guess, more incentive to do it, and just I don't know. These people provide a legitimate amount of value to competitive Fortnite, and Fortnite kind of just relies on that without having to put any of their own effort into it. So I would like to see Fortnite invest in those people more than they currently do. I think Clay would probably have a better perspective on this because of his role in the competitive scene as a caster, and he's also worked with Fortnite before. So
This is an interesting topic. So I love the idea of what they're doing, and the fact that anybody can come up out of nowhere and do whatever they want in competitive related. It literally is how I got started. I just started posting clips on Twitter during World Cup quals, and literally almost a year later, they reached out and were like, "Hey, we want to have you on broadcast." I was like, "Oh, sweet, let's go." Like that was what I was going for. So like obviously I like that. I think there's a lot more involvement than we probably initially see, right, from the surface level, right? I know that like working in the past with certain groups of discords, there'd be like there'd be a bug, and they'd be like, okay, well, like, let's report it. Like, here's a link to report this directly to these people, and like, so they could get the bug worked on and such. Like, I think they are, and they always have. I've always said this, and I've always play the devil's advocate for Epic, and I still will, even though, like, I was on broadcast. Like, I did it long before, right? I think they know what they're doing. I think they know their plan. I think they know their gameplay. I trust them. I trust them to make the right decision because it's their game. No one knows their game better than them. They spent hours, hundreds of hours coding their game. Yes, we've broken it and completely gone away from what they initially thought with building and with competitive Fortnite, but they know at their core what they want. So I think that open policy allows these discords to pop up. Obviously, practice is a way different scenario, a whole different conversation that can happen sprung from this. But I think that them supporting these third parties, right? Like with the EMAD Cup, with the Mars Cup, that's them supporting a third party practice cup for money kind of thing. And it's them testing out different formats. Every single one of them has had a different format to my knowledge. So it's like, that's awesome because they're saying, hey, we're willing to test it out and we're going to put some money there to see how players play. And that will allow us to determine, hey, if these players played this tournament and the community loved this one, right? Mongols format's really good. EMAT's format's amazing. It goes from opens to customs. That's really cool. I obviously would have loved to see like a third step there in between to see how to get that down. But obviously, a 2-day format, that's probably one of the better ones, I think. I agree, Shio. I think in terms of gameplay, yes. But I think in terms of their actual game, what they want to do with it, obviously the devs know more. I think that's the truth for anything, right? Like Valorant. The players, they broke that game immediately off of release, right? There were bugs. Cypher's camo was going on. Guns were going at his cameras. Wall exploits were being used, right? They broke it so much. But that's not the scale that we've broken Fortnite, right? We've broke servers. There were months back in the day, right? There were months where it would be 2 weeks out of the month. Fortnite servers would just be so bad you could barely play them, right? They had to give out a free back bling at one point because the servers were so bad, right? But that's because we broke it on a scale that they weren't ready for, right? But they knew that they were going to need to be ready. And so that's why they were like, oh, you know what? We'll fix it. And now servers can handle this many players. Obviously, competitive servers, that's the whole thing. Like, there's a lot of lag there.
We don't need to get into that.
Yeah, but I still think they know what they're doing and they're working on it. And they're coming back to this policy of anybody can come up out of nowhere and be the next Booga, right? Or be the next whoever. Because that is what they want. And that's a good marketing strategy for any sport, right? For League. If League had an open qualifiers to somehow get to Worlds, like, oh, you bet your booty little Timmy and Jimmy would be playing, right? They'd be playing every chance they get. But the only esport that has that is competitive Fortnite. That's why you see so many people playing it. There's not that barrier of entry, right? If you're a semi-pro in League of Legends, becoming a pro, you just have to be #1 ranked challenger. That's the only way you get noticed, is being the best in a public ranked system. There's not a, oh, you know what? I could win a cash cup that randomly happens and people are going to see that. Then I can make a YouTube video on it and then that's going to blow up. And then that will help me transition into Twitter. And then if I do good at the next cash cup, then people are going to start to notice who I am. And then it starts to trickle and the snowball effects come. In League of Legends, if you're #2 in Challenger, no one cares about you, right? Everyone was grinding for #1. So I think open policy is a great policy. Wrapping it up.
I would agree with that. And at first, I think we all know Epic kind of stumbled into this game. Like, this is not exactly what they... I'm guessing that when they put out this beta mode of Fortnite, they had no idea that it would become the most popular game at like a certain time, right? So then now we're dealing with probably plans that were set in place a long time ago that they realized, okay, we have this platform, we have this game. Now, how the hell do we keep it around and what do we do with it? And I think go ahead.
We see that with broadcast coming back, right? They're like, hey, we want to bring broadcast back. So let's see if we can do it in a remote setting where no one's together and we're all spread across the country. in the world, right? They brought Aussie in, and he's in Australia, and they were able to do it. It's like bringing a broadcast back when we're not in a studio. That shows that I think they're that shows they're listening. But continue.
Yeah, well, they people want to talk about, oh, they don't listen to the community, but they want their game to be played on their term, and we play their game. They don't play the game that we want to, or the community doesn't get to choose the game that they want to play. Like Epic decides that, and we've seen that time and time again. They go against, community general, the loudest people in the rooms talking about what should be done. Obviously, there's certain things that need to be fixed, but I feel like they're always kind of working on that. I don't know to what extent. And then they're also working to keep the talent, kind of like what you said with broadcast. They tried that, and then they even mentioned, hey, we want to bring on new people. We want to give other people the opportunity to have this floor and platform. So it's not even just the competitive play. They want to give people from both, like in EMAD, who does viewing parties, giving him a larger platform, and giving people who are starting out, just continuing to expand the scene and giving people the ability to benefit from what is Fortnite.
Going back to your point, Taylor, about Epic, like Fortnite's going to be the game that Epic wants it to be, or not the game that the players want it to be. Do you think, do you like that kind of theory, or do you like that concept, or do you think it should be different?
I think they've been pretty damn good at what they do. So whether or not I like it, it doesn't freaking matter, right? Like, whether I like it, whether Benji likes it, whether Zate likes it, like Booga could not like it, but does it really matter? Like, they decide the content, they decide what's the game, and we simply have to deal with it. Like that is what it is, and they've continued to be successful. Like, the competitive community is continuing to grow, and the casual community seems to continue to grow. They've put fucking movies in the game. Like, movies and concerts are now in a video game. And could you even imagine that like 2 years ago?
Yeah. They single-handedly forced Sony to go cross-platform. that in itself is one of the biggest accomplishment Fortnite has ever made, in my opinion, is forcing Sony, who was notoriously so anti-cross-platform, to be able to work with Microsoft and build that system. Like, that in and of itself. But I think every game is that way, right? Let's take Valorant, right? I think there's not a single player in Valorant that doesn't think Raze is OP, right? I think everyone knows that her point-and-click ultimate, where you can wipe an entire team in 1 second, is overpowered. She's still in the game, right? They released the game with her. Reyna's in the game. Competitively, Reyna's not that bad, but they're like, no community is going to change the dev's mind on every aspect of their game. That's just not how it works. It's their business. It's their game. They're going to run it how they want. But you do see Epic listening now. We see it, right? And just because we don't see their communication doesn't mean they weren't listening. Doesn't mean they weren't paying attention, right? They're on Reddit. They're on Twitter. I guarantee you they see it, right? At the beginning of 2020, Sundown had tweeted out, he's like, this is the year of me just, if you're being rude, I'm just going to block you. Like, obviously, he saw all the rude tweets towards him about people not communicating or Fortnite not doing anything, right? So it's like, they're doing stuff. I think they've always have been doing stuff, but it's what they want to do to their game, and that's how every game is. Call of Duty, there's so many iterations of Call of Duty that people want to change or for this or that reason, but they didn't change it because they thought their game was good. And yet they're still around, right? They're still here 8-10 years later, right? So I think Fortnite, again, back to Taylor's point, it's their game. They're gonna do what they want with it, and if you truly love the game, what it is, you'll be here. You'll be here to play.
Well, and let's not forget that even if you don't like the game and the way it's played, you can go into creative and make the game play it however you want. It's slightly limited, but they give you tools to go ahead and make different games too, which different discussion, but that'll take off in its own right and something will come out of creative.
That's Taylor's favorite theory, that creative is going to be the life of
Well,
Fortnite soon.
you see, okay, so Donald Mustard's brother, Chad, he streams and was a Fortnite creator. He still is. He doesn't stream anymore. His name is Mustard Plays. When Creative came out, he completely dropped BR and has building entire games in Creative. And he still does. And it's blown up for him. And it's so amazing to see because it's like Fortnite wants to be able to make an entire game in a game, which is meta in of itself, right? They've created a multiverse. They've gotten so many things to come through, and I agree. I think creative Fortnite is really more than just hitting clips and editing really fast. It's like there's a lot of different aspects that we don't see as content creators, as competitors as well. I think Taylor's right there. Like just a tidbit there to hop in.
No, yeah, 100%. Like I think I'm actually one of the only people I know within the competitive scene that really enjoys like just fun creative maps. Like I love doing death runs. I love doing like adventure creative maps, and not many of my friends who are in the competitive scene do that. But I think that's like a really cool aspect of the game. Um, and yeah, like I agree. I think that that could be a really cool path for Fortnite to go down.
All right. So you want to take us through our last one, Jordan?
Yeah, sure. So let's talk about Fortnite in general. The Battle Royale. Uh, does building make Fortnite the ideal BR? We talked about how Epic kind of stumbled into the Battle Royale thing. They started with Save the World, and then I'm not really sure what made them create a Battle Royale mode. I think maybe they were just kind of tacking on to a bit of a trend at the time, but it's somehow, I mean, it's definitely the most popular Battle Royale right now. Do you guys think that there's something about the building mechanic specifically that makes it such a good BR?
I mean, it's the only BR where you have a second chance. If you get shot in PUBG,
So
you're
true.
dead.
So true.
There's no disengaging. You're dead. PUBG is the element of surprise. PUBG is the element of hiding and waiting in a bush and hoping you get to the end game crawling and or hiding in a zone. H1Z1 was the same thing. You had cars, which offered you some protection, but at the highest level, you would get bopped immediately if you hopped out. You have Apex, which does have disengage opportunities, but there's no way to really disengage a fight. You can use a Gibraltar shield to kind of help you out, but they're going to know where you are. You're sitting in the shield to get the effect. So the fact in Fortnite that you can put up structures to build around you to protect yourself from getting eliminated is so much better, and that's why I've stuck with it. Right, I played PUBG since it came out, and then they released to 1.0, and when they released to 1.0, I was like, this is terrible. I got tired of just dying to a sniper. Right, in Fortnite, I died to a sniper, but like the odds are not that high. Competitively, I die to them all the time. Don't ask me about that. But I think being able to react and being able to do that and get that second chance makes it so much better. And I agree with Senses. He says the editing makes it really special. And I agree. The fact that you're able to not only outplay your opponent mechanically on shooting and aiming, right? Bloom, Amos is, but the fact that you're able to outplay an opponent due to you editing a piece and them not being ready for it and catching them off guard, I think is miles above any other ER that we've seen.
Yeah, yeah. You're like you made the best point with you haven't like Fortnite's the only BR where you have a second chance. Like I think the only other BR I've played is Warzone, and I still play it somewhat frequently. And sometimes I'll find myself kind of just like go like not really thinking too much about what I'm doing, and I'm just caught out in the middle of a field, and I get lit up, and there's just absolutely nothing I could do. I just, like you're just dead. The second somebody gets the first shot on you, that's it. Like the fact that you have the opportunity to build cover and like prolong an engagement in Fortnite makes it, I feel like, so much more skill based, and definitely more mechanically based for sure. Um, but it seems like in other BRs there's a lot of, I don't want to say luck, but it's a lot of kind of just like camping and surprising people, which doesn't seem as skill based to me. Um, and yeah, so I don't know, like playing Warzone makes me appreciate Fortnite so much more every time I play it.
Yeah, I mean, in general, we have so much more to the game than almost any other BR has. Like the whole building and editing aspect, and then you also have the farming. Like in most BRs, you can't just break anything on the map. Like granted, you can't go through the walls and or like natural cover you can't go through, but there's so many more keys or buttons, whatever you play on, that you have to get used to pressing that aren't going to be used in a normal shooter, right? So then not only do you have to be able to play a shooter game, you also have to be able to build. And we've seen the skill level, like the average skill of the Fortnite player is exponentially higher than it was a year ago. Like even if you go back and look at World Cup games, like people were still pretty good at the time, but the increases of skills and the consistency, like we would see some pretty inconsistent plays from even the top level players. But now some of these top level players just go. And there's literally nothing that stops them because they have the ability to protect themselves while also outskilling and outplaying players. So it just gives the game so many more dimensions that add to the intricacies and the interest level in my opinion. Like it makes it so much cooler to watch than simply just someone beaming people out in the open and there's nothing they could do about it, right? Um, it's definitely unique. It's the first time that a major or the first time we've really had like building and shooting in the same game as far as like a PvP kind of game.
Um, yeah.
I believe there was one other. I can't remember what it was, but there was one that was it was like it was before Fortnite, but they didn't really like impact on the building. It was like Star or Sky or something. I can't remember. There's something along the line of that. Maybe someone in the chat will know. There was like for a little bit there was one, but it never really took off to this scale.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. I just think it's so cool that you could be really good at this game by just being like good at shooting games, right? You can probably win most of the casual engagements by just being good at shooting. But if you actually want to be good at Fortnite, you have to be able to build and edit and know like so many different techniques. I think we take that for granted, how many different building techniques you have to know. Like you can't just use a single ramp. Most of the time you have to do at least a ramp wall, maybe a ramp floor wall. You have to know how to do 90s. You have to know how to tunnel multiple different ways. And then within all that, you have to be able to edit. And it it's so unique. It's so I love it. I
Yeah,
don't
I think it has probably like, I mean, you guys could correct me if I'm wrong if you have more gaming experience than me, but I think it probably has one of the biggest like skill ceilings of all time, in terms of a competitive game. It feels like, especially mechanically. I can't think of many games that I've played that have such a high ceiling, and it's all because of the building and editing mechanic.
I think the only other one that really came to mind was StarCraft, but there's just because there's so much goes on in that game, macro wise. But I know people make the argument CS:GO, but I think Fortnite mechanically is the hardest game to play and be good at it.
Yeah, I think in RTS is the only thing that can really compete with that because you're dealing with like hundreds of troops while also trying to maintain like other buildings and upgrades and all that kind of stuff at once. So like to me, that's the only thing that can compete with the number of things you have to deal with while playing a game of Fortnite. Because a regular shooter, again, is it's not simple, but it's much more simple without the building and editing, because you still have all the pieces of a shooter with your positioning, your angles, the lanes you're looking at, crosshair control, all that kind of stuff. But within Fortnite, you add essentially 2 more levels to that.
And you had Bloom.
For good or worse.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I think from also just an entertainment perspective as well, like I personally definitely enjoy watching Fortnite endgames, and obviously I'm biased because I play Fortnite and I make Fortnite content, but like compared to Warzone endgames, compared to other BR endgames, like the meta that has developed in Fortnite through building is just definitely ideal compared to what we've seen in other games.
Oh yeah, like, and this is one of the reasons I got into casting, and one of the reasons that like I love casting Fortnite so much, and still obviously too. I said love, but I love it. Um, is because the hype in that end game, that moment is so much more than running through a building in Warzone or running through a building and hiding in Apex. Right? There's infinitesimal amounts of things that can happen in an end game if you make the wrong step in Fortnite, or if you misjudge your match, you could go on. But there's so many different things that could happen in a split second in Fortnite and make it that much more enjoyable, because if you're watching Fortnite competitively, you know what it means if this person does not reload their RPG, or you know what it means if they run out of uh, metal and they only have wood left in a 6 zone. You're like, oh, they only have wood. They're not going to stay alive. They gotta find an impact frag, and you know what it means to be in a 1v1v1 in last zone, and you're on mid ground, and you have to realize, do I shoot out high, or do I drop low and try to get the siphon off the player below and have the HP to fight high ground? There's so many different things, and that every single end game is so different from the last. Right? There's no more heal offs. We don't see that anymore. And we may see it with floppers a little bit and chug splashes coming up. I'm interested to see how that will play out. But it's not, oh, he's gonna make it. Oh, he's gonna make it in a campfire, so he's gonna win. Right? The best hype moment that I remember from old Fortnite was 72 hours. Ducking back into zone with the drum gun. He wasn't running shotguns, right? He ducked back in, came back in, and outplayed his opponent, right? That was one of the best high moments that I have in my memory of one of the ones that happened in the old system of the skirmishes, right? But there's nothing, and like I'm even getting hyped talking about it. There's nothing that compares to the final moments of Fortnite endgame and the utter chaos it is.
Give me nostalgia. I'm just thinking of all like some of the best moments of Fortnite history. Sexro pop a bandage, Zate hitting that
Oh, you
rift
gotta
to
do him like
go.
that. Why you gotta bring up the bandage?
But like you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Like that moment is iconic. And that's
Yeah.
because there's a storm mechanic, as well as we had the EJ dash at the time, but
Oh,
granted he didn't hit it. He tried to but missed. Um and then we also have like constantly changing metas, which make this game even more difficult to adapt to. Like last summer was completely different than this summer. And yes, we have ARs, we have shotguns, we have SMGs. But as far as like the actual meta right now, we have charge shotgun and tacs that flick you. So neither is how it was before. We had the combat shotgun last summer, and there was tons of different items like stinks and the smoke grenades, which just again add to the depth and the intricacies and really the interest. Like I think we'd all get bored if we were playing the game that it was a year ago or 2 years ago, and that was the same meta.
Yeah,
Yeah,
people were even bored after like Chapter 2, Season 1, when they extended the season because of whatever reason. Like, people were complaining about that because it was getting stale.
yeah. Like, so two things. I think Census makes a great point. Having these open tournaments increases the skill gap. But I'm gonna take that and say it also increases the hype and the interest, right? Because if little Jimmy down the road somehow makes it into finals, right? He's a god of Fortnite on whatever input he wants to be on, but he makes it to the finals and he's in that moment. Like, oh, that's so hype, right? That's so hype that an unknown player who's not like, for example, colorful, right? Before he qualified for World Cup, was not in prac, didn't do scrims really. He just qualified. He was an unknown player that came out of nowhere to qualify for the World Cup, right? That is so hype, and that goes back to our open policy thing. These moments wouldn't have happened without it. It wouldn't have been here. But oh man, I may have forgot the other point. Wait, what did you say before I started talking?
um, I was talking about the hype moments and the changing metas.
Oh, right. Yeah. So everyone is on the charge, right? They don't like the charge. They don't like the charge, right? I've asked many different pros, what would you do? They like get rid of mythics and get rid of the charge and bring out the pump. I was like, so chapter 2, season 1 is what you want again, even though you hated it and you thought it was too boring, right? Yes, it was the probably the best competitive meta. I think it needed some changes in terms of mobility. Add the launch pad in. It didn't have the launch pad. Add maybe an impulse or shockwave or crash pad, right? I don't think shockwaves. Never mind. Those are trash. They're terrible. Terrible. Crash pad, impulse, right? You take fall damage, or add shadow bombs, right? Add some mobility in there. That's the best meta I've seen in Fortnite. But
100%.
people forget that they hated it, right? They want the combat back, but everyone forgets it was the most broken shotgun in the game next to the double barrel, right? I like when it was in solid gold, I could 1v4 entire squads. Granted, they're not the best, right? And I'm not playing at that level, but the fact that you could 1v8 people with the combat, right? In Booga's first World Cup game, you saw it. He was just sitting back like bah, 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 with the
Combat
combat.
sniper.
Yeah, like it was OP, and people forget that. And I think that's one of the things that with the changing meta, people forget because it's been almost 3 years of Fortnite. Like that's insane. It came out in 2017 on September 26th or 27th, right? That's almost 3 years of adapting. And I think people forget old Fortnite wasn't that good. Right? I think they don't remember the trauma of double pump. I am traumatized. Like people are like, I want to no, you don't. No, you don't. I think people forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, double pump's kind of an example of Epic steering the game in the right direction. Like,
Yeah.
even if double pump was made a thing now, I don't even know that it would be used very often. Like, I don't think it'd be meta just because now building and editing is so much more of a component. Like we've turned to box fights. It used to be build fights, and double pump was a lot more effective to use. But now in the current meta, I don't know that it's that effective anymore. And Epic taking that out of the game kind of accelerated the process of the player base understanding that, right? Like if they would have kept double pump in, who knows how long it would have taken people to kind of move the meta towards what it is right now. But they made that decision. It was an unpopular decision at the time. But I think it resulted in a better game state.
I 100% agree. And example, right? Like I know this is one of the I credit two things Fortnite's biggest successes in their entire game: removing team killing and reboot vans. That's like what has kept their game alive. And that was what kept their game alive. Team killing at the time, back in season 2 or 1, wherever it was so terrible you could not play a game without getting RPG'd by your team. Right? And that was them saying, you know what? Let's fix that. Let's make the game go in the right direction. There's no other. I mean, PUBG has team killing, but your team's not rushing into a firefight. And reboot vans have completely changed the way we play engagement, right? you drop in, right? It's trios, MNCS. You drop in, 2 of your teammates get eliminated off spawn, and you're sitting there like, well, that fight took a long time. Zone is coming in. It's almost here, right? Let's say we're at retail. Zone is at authority. That team is going to have to move, right? But the zone's already on top of you when midway through the fight. You have time to get the reboot. They're not going to camp the reboot card. So you can make an entire rotation to the north of the map towards Steamy, towards there's a reboot now in Frenzy, right? You can completely change the way you play Fortnite based off of one simple item. And that was them doing it for good. I told chat multiple times, I would have quit Fortnite if they didn't bring reboot hands. Playing it. I still would have been involved competitively. But like, that was at a time where it was you go into a game, and whether it be a scrim or a normal game, you would die off spawn, and then your entire team will be like, "Well, guess I'm down a man for the whole game," or you reset. And that was the option, and we saw that a lot before they were reintroduced, right? Like when Poach would fight off spawn in containers, right? If one of his teammates went down, it's like, okay, well, I'm playing solo for the whole rest of the game. And so that's another example of them changing the game for the better. Turbo building, right? Remember back in the day, these kids, they got it. I mean, like this boomer talk, these kids got it lucky. I had to click my mouse for every single placement, right? This was back before we thought about scroll wheel reset and scroll wheel to place, right? If that didn't come in, we would be in a completely different direction.
100% agree. If we're finished with that topic, we could move on to the rapid fire wrap up. You guys good with that?
Cool with me.
All right, cool. Yes. All right. So 3 rapid fire questions. Number 1, how many days will Epic extend this season by?
I don't think they're going to extend it.
Really?
Yeah.
2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah, I agree with that. 2 weeks.
I don't think. When was the last time we didn't get an extended?
Season 10?
Season 10?
They didn't extend. Yeah.
Wait, didn't they? Because then there was the overtime challenge.
There's always been overtime challenges since like season 4. You know, but that's kind of the norm, right? Like everyone expected overtime.
Fair enough. They got to just stop telling us when the season ends and just like, boom, tomorrow you come on and it's in a new game.
Yeah. All right. Question 2. Best thing and worst thing about the game right now?
Worst thing is the amount of snipers. I hate that, especially competitively, obviously. Oh God, we could spend another whole hour talking about that. I used to play the devil's advocate on snipers. I did. I used to be like, no, they're competitive. Like, no, they're skillful. No, I'm done with it. They're trash. Right? It's very easy if you're at the highest of high levels to hit a snipe. You wait for them to jump on the downward, boom, you hit them in the head. They take a bow, boom, you hit them in the head. They're on a zip line, boom, you hit them in the head, right? Like, that was the best. That's the worst thing right now. And Marauders. Those things gotta go. Right?
Zombies.
I don't know. Yeah, they're just zombies that are random, but not really random because they're always at retail and lazy, always in certain areas. They gotta go. I got 2 worst things. I think the best thing right now is, oh God, that's a hard question. I know this is supposed to be rapid fire, but I'm really extending it. The best thing, in my opinion, is I'd say the amount of communication we've had competitively. Because we know it's Olo's FNCS, the next one's Trios, and we know the cash cups for this season, and we know that there's multiple third-party cups that are happening, right? We know that there's possibly more to come, and we know they're listening. So I'd say that.
Taylor?
Well, I probably would have said snipers, but I'll go with grenades, because those are equally as trash. And we learned that a while ago, and they took them out, but now they're back. And the best thing, I'd have to say, just knowing that there's a longevity in this game, that like Epic actually plans a long-term strategy, and we may not know exactly what it is, but there's apparently going to be a World Cup 2021. We're going to have an FNCS every season. We even know what it is next season. Plus, we have cash cups to practice. And even though people may not like solos, that's going to get a ton more people involved in the game. And then hopefully trios is going to pop off.
I'm gonna call you out. How did you not know that based off the season? Donald's been playing this stuff forever, my man. Donald knew. I guarantee you, Donald. He's an evil genius. I guarantee you. I know he probably has very little say competitively, but he knew exactly since season one storyline how it was gonna end in season 10 and how it's going. He's planned it out for years. I can guarantee that. I saw that back in season 4 when there was something from season 4 that was in season 2, and I was like, okay, they're connected. But yeah, I agree. Like the fact that we know there's talks for World Cup 2021, there's talks for more and more competitions is so good to see. I love it, especially as someone that is casting, right? Like I feel like we all have a vested interest in there being more competition.
100%. The more, the merrier. Jordan?
Worst thing for me right now is the arena system. I can't get into a trios game that has more than like 7 players in third or fourth zone, and I really want to play more stacked games. So I hope that Epic does something to improve that. And then the best thing I would say, best thing is that the water is receding. I want to go back to the old map. All right, and then the final rapid fire question, and then we'll take a couple questions from chat. Favorite competitive player and favorite non-player. Wait, Taylor, you wrote this question. What's the second half of this question?
So your favorite comp player, and then your favorite person in the scene who's not a player.
Who's not a player at all? Or not a
competitive not player? A competitive player. Like everyone plays the game.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think I can answer. That's like everyone asks, like, who's your favorite comp player? Like, I'm gonna pick a cop out answer and go with Benji. Like, he's just, you can't help but love Benji Fishy, right? Like, you got the meme, you know, you got Benji, right? His mom's amazing, he's amazing. Everybody there amazing, the Fishy family. That's cop out answer, right? Because I don't like to pick just one. All right, I'll say that though. There's more than one. But favorite non-player, now he gonna hate me if I don't say this. So gotta go with 11 2K. My man 11 is amazing. No shade to y'all, but he makes me laugh every time I go back and watch his stream. Even when he's not live, I'm just like, God, 11, you're hilarious. Love him. So I gotta go with 11.
No offense taken. I love Levin as well.
Yeah.
Jordan?
Favorite comp player, either unknown or mongrel, maybe. I think they're just both super entertaining to watch. And favorite non-player, damn, does like a content creator count?
I'll let it slide.
All right, I'll say Cypher PK.
Cypher's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
For me, I'd have to go. If Tom was still competing, I'd have to say 72 hours. But Tom's his love for the game has fallen off. So someone who I find equally as interesting to watch is Arab. I think Arab's a really cool player to watch, and the way he thinks about the game is just so cool to me. And then my favorite non-player, probably Balla. It's got to be Balla, actually. He's a big reason that like I've gotten into the stuff that I've gotten into, and he's done a lot for the scene. That's not simply just like casting or making videos. So come back, Balla. No, I'm not calling you out.
What do you mean? You said not just casting.
Whoa.
I see.
Ooh.
No, ball's got miles on me. Everyone always like, Clay, why don't you do VOD reviews? Why don't you do coaching? I'm just not that smart. Like, if you want that, you got to go to Bala. You got to go to Shio. Like, that. I'm with you there, 100%. Like,
Yeah, more Bala and Shio Street. Let's get those
sure.
back.
All right, let's take a couple questions from chat. Anybody in chat got questions?
Oh, wait. You see Ninja's live on YouTube right now?
Is he?
Oh,
Yeah. He didn't announce anything. He just put a YouTube link out and it was like 30 minutes.
we had a question back from Manu a while ago. Was thoughts on having arena fills? Do you think it would be good for the game? Pros and cons.
Immediate con racism, like immediate con. There's a lot of it, especially in just duo squad fills. Like the amount of people that just say the N word, terrible.
Really?
That's obviously like that goes without saying. Like it happens. It's terrible. I've experienced it. Like But on the contrary, obviously that's probably the biggest con, opinion, right? Another con is I don't know if these people are like they could have gotten carried to contender, right? Like, do we want that? Do we want boosted players in Champs League, right? Do we want? Because I mean, you could have it now, kind of, but it's still kind of, for the medium level players to get there, right? Like, I'm not champs, but I just.
But Clay, we have hype nights. Like people get boosted to champs anyway if you play a hype night.
But now we would have open players being boosted to champs. If let's say Benji decides to do a trio fill, right? And they drop a 48 kill win. That's not, I mean, that's possible. We saw him do a 58 kill, right? Right? A 52 or something. So they drop that. The amount of points they're going to get from that is a lot. And so it's going to carry them.
Well, they should be matched up by skill level. So like, hopefully.
Yeah. But let me tell you, I run a lot of games on stream. I run a lot off stream. Right, off stream mostly doing scrims, but on stream, those arena games, yeah, I can pickaxe to many players. I have pickaxe to many players in situations. There's not many players in elite scrims that are going to get pickaxed off spawn. But pros, right? We can't forget about the good side of things. Is that it would be pretty dope. The content that comes from it would be amazing. You could possibly find a good trio or duo or squad to do it with.
True.
And that's probably the hardest thing in Fortnite is to find squads or duos or trios to play with competitively. And I think Lol Sampa tweeted out the other day, he's like, I'm so glad it's solos because it's so hard to find a trio. It's so hard.
Well, and even if you just want to play arena and your trio's not on, like it becomes a challenge to just play arena trios. And especially if you're someone like One Up or myself, like solos are not fun. I don't want to play it by myself. And I want to play arena mode. So I have to go find people to play with. And it'd be so nice just to click fill, enter. Maybe I have to deal with some little kids screaming in my ear, but I'll deal with that.
Yeah, the only thing I see as an issue is, well, not the only thing, but one of the things I see as an issue is if you ever filled in like a casual game, a lot of times you'll just get somebody who's not talking on the mic. He just drops wherever he wants and dies off spawn, and that's about it. And you're just down a teammate the rest of the game. Like,
oh, that's what we need. We need a filter by mic option, or because there are people that have mics that don't want to talk, right? So it's like have a box that says, "I have a mic and I'm going to talk," or something.
Yeah, there would have to be some sort of constraints. Like you'd like have to have a mic in. You'd have to be in game chat or something like that.
Yeah, like I think that would need to be a requirement for that to be successful. The way it would want to, because I've gone in a duo fill. Everyone does duo fill once in their life. The amount of people I have that are either dropping by themselves with a mic, by themselves without a mic, or they got Mr. Trash Bag mic over here, like back in the background. Like, I would prefer that this bag over the mic than no mic. At least they have a mic and they can say something. But I think, yeah, I agree. You definitely need an option to have a mic check.
Um,
Clay, you good to hang out for a couple more minutes? I don't want
Yeah.
oh
to.
yeah,
All right, cool.
I see what part of the Fortnite map has the highest property value. That's from one of my viewers.
highest property value.
I think
Um,
our community decided on Misty Meadows because you've got businesses, you've got a lake that comes directly from a mountain, you've got access to fishing holes and such, and fishing areas, and you have like that jet ski place right nearby. It's listen. This is if I ask chat sometimes.
I'd say Lazy Lake, basically
Ooh,
because it's the same thing as Misty, but it's in the city. Misty's kind of
oh,
more like a smaller area. Lazy's more of a city. You get higher property values in the city, probably some higher taxes too. So I'm going Lazy.
I would say those 5 houses on the west edge of the map. Actually, I think they're underwater now, but when they were in the game, they were right on the beach. There's just five
oh,
little houses.
Rainbow Row
Yeah,
or whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
it's honestly pretty high. It's right on the beach. Ooh.
Yeah, you buy all 5 of them, build yourself a mansion. It's a good call.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
nice. Let's see what other questions we have here.
We got thoughts on the Shockwave launcher.
broken. Get it out of the game. Out of the
Yeah,
game.
I don't think there really needs to be much more discussion than that.
I think it should have gone into the vault as soon as it came out of the vault. Because you see every day, I think Sinton posted a clip the other day of someone shockwaving to height, shockwaving on the build, and there you go.
Yeah, it's the
Right?
easiest height take you'll ever have.
And that's the same opinion I have about shockwaves, right? Is trios FNCS, Mongo, Benji, and Icho, all they did, wait till 6 zone, shockwave to height. Someone shockwave them off height, they shockwave to height. Someone shockwave them off height, they shockwave to height. Someone shockwave them off height, they shockwave to height. You don't get the same back and forth, but it's the same thing. Like if 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 Chap, who somehow decides to land at Caddy, which he's not, but decides, hey, I'm gonna go get this shockwave gun, and they have 18 grenades for him, right? 18 tries. That's 9 times he can go up and shockwave someone off height if they don't claim height by then. That's too OP.
Yeah. Maybe have like 4 total shockwaves and it reloads like once every 2 minutes. But even that would probably be too much. Like I'm down to just get rid of it and add or just remove the 2 items. Even though
We'll just make it one. We just need one mythic. Right? Like Bravely Plum talked about the grappler. I would have the grappler over the drum gun because the drum gun's trash. But the
Mhm.
grappler is actually pretty balanced. Right? Like you have the redeploy. And yeah, you can game it a little bit and bunny hop it with the short little hops. But it's also one of the only ways to fix the glider glitch if it's still in the game. But it's really balanced IMO because like you can take height with it, but you have to be really good at taking height and immediately landing, which is hard to get the angle in game. Right? And it will save you only for so much in game because of the redeploy causing you to get hit on builds or going to zone. Like I think Mythics ideally, right? If they want to keep mobility in the game, right? Get charge shotgun. We have the grappler, and then it could be the burst or the chug. They both really are not very monumental. Yeah, shockwave, it's gotta go.
Yes, sir.
Someone asked, "What is the current water table level on the map?" I don't really understand the question.
That's also one of my viewers. So if you look at the map, Grotto is still full while other places are draining out. And so they wanted a topographical survey of the water levels. I didn't do it. Let's just say 7.
7. All right, sounds good.
Yes,
Uh,
agreed.
what are your thoughts on the competitive age requirement? Should other games have it this low too? Yeah, I mean, personally, at least for Fortnite, it doesn't make sense to make it higher. Like, so many of the best players are very young. So you just be boxing out some of the best players, and that just doesn't make any sense to me. What do you guys think?
Yes, it should be lower in all games. When I was younger, playing semi-pro COD, and I couldn't actually compete in events because I was too young. And if it was 13, I'd be able to win some money, and we might be doing something else. So yes.
I say yes, keep it low for Fortnite. Obviously, it was a great thing. We saw Savage, Benji, Mongrel kind of rise up competitively, even able to get to where they are because of the lowered restrictions. We wouldn't have had that. World Cup, I don't think, would have been anywhere near as fun. Um, Other games, it's different, right? You've got franchises and you've got contracts, like, and that also in Fortnite, you've got contracts with orgs, but Call of Duty, no, because they're franchised. League of Legends, no, because they're franchised. Right? If you're franchised, I think age limit should be 18, maybe 16. A 13 on a franchise team, that's really hard, right? Because, like, for example, in League, like the Golden State Warriors, they have the one of the, I can't remember the names, but it's like the Golden something, right? If you're representing a basketball team at the age of 13, imagine one of those 13-year-olds saying what Zexo did on, like, when he went on Ninja, right?
Zexer is 18 though. It's not
Yeah,
even like the age limit matters.
But that type of volatility is very common in the 13-year-old range, right? So it's probably, thank God Zexo went on instead of some random 13-year-old that would have said something completely different, right? And the maturity matters in different people, like, obviously, but it's not always a guarantee that someone like Booga is going to win the World Cup and be very cordial and like very calm and collected with all his responses and represent the community in a really good light. It's not always guaranteed. So if you're franchised and you're representing like the Dallas Mavericks, the Golden State Warriors, Dr. Pepper, right? If you're on TSM and you're representing a franchise esport, I think what's it called? I think it's completely different. I think it makes sense for Fortnite because the age targeting range of Fortnite is already so low. It made perfect sense for them to do it. But other games, it's up in the air. IMO.
Yeah, that's kind of tough too, though, because if you have players that are, elite level players and they're below the age limit, I mean, like in other like traditional sports like baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever it is, that sport is going to be, still where it is in a couple years when you're eligible to play. In gaming, you don't know. If you're 13 and the age restriction is 16 and up, in 3 years, you don't know if the game's going to be at the same level. So you're very possibly getting boxed out and like for good. So it's definitely a dilemma.
Yeah, but it's like, so we all came for different games, right? I played COD competitively back in the day too. I was running MLG stuff all the time, Gears of War as well, right? But I never was like, this is the first like time in our generation and in our lives that you can make a career out of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Before you couldn't. Black Ops 2 kind of was the start of it, right? League of Legends started it up as well. StarCraft, Dota as well, CSGO, CS, Source, and all. I didn't play that, so I don't know anything about it. But like, this is the first like really time in our generation above us, and the generation below us that have the opportunity to make a living off gaming. And so I think that is completely different than what we had when we were just gaming for money, right? We were playing wagers, eights, like, it wasn't nothing but a Saturday afternoon with the boys. But now it's, I could be a millionaire.
True.
It is the implications of lowering the age range are very high.
Our boy Ninja changed the game for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, he's been through what? Halo, to COD, to H1Z1, to PUBG, like Fortnite. I don't know if he played COD. I assume he did. Everyone played COD.
Yeah, who didn't play COD?
But like, he's been through every game, just like Psalm, right? I mean, he made it a career before it was a career. So it's like, there were people that saw it, but I don't know. I don't think having a 13-year-old on uh I don't know. It's hard because you have minor leagues in like normal sports, right? You have like teams, high school teams, and normal sports as well. But it's like, where's the age limit? I don't know.
Um, let's take maybe two more questions here from chat. We have one
Don't ask
from.
about the van. Okay. And was
Clay's
that
got
what you
that
asked?
question
What
before.
did we ask?
Yeah, I was gonna say that we got an entry from the Clay Gang. Wait, what do you call your
I
followers?
call them the Claniacs because
Claniacs.
it's a play on Brainiacs and
I
comes
like
from
that.
but I'm going to look at a car. And I don't know what car because I'm a big man and I need to find a car that fits me. And chat, aka Ducko, decided that he was going to suggest a conversion van because he wanted me to stream mobilely and go to different people's houses and stream from their house while playing Fortnite
I love
because
that idea.
it would be a talking point.
That is a talking point for sure.
And that's what he did. And they have even found a van called the Rassle Castle and have photoshopped my logo and my link
Oh my
onto
god.
the side of it. Like, it's a. I'm not getting a van.
Anyway, the question was, would any of you drive a conversion van with a Fortnite mural on the side?
No.
So there we go.
Yeah,
Taylor,
I'll
would
say
you?
I'll say no too. Probably doesn't
Jordan?
get good gas mileage.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second. I barely know you, but I don't believe that
It's a
for
talking
second.
point. It's a talking point.
That's true.
Do we have one more question from chat?
Ooh, senses.
Would a creative game mode like King of the Hill work with Fortnite's mechanics? It
Good
seems
question.
like it would get messy with builds everywhere. I've thought about this before, actually.
We had the Creative World Cup, and I'm going to be honest, overall, I don't think that got really good reviews, but it was pretty fun to watch. I don't know. I think it has to be the right creative game mode. Like, what is a creative game mode that is not going to be like competitive? It can be Zone Wars because that's pretty much competitive end game, right? Like King of the Hill. And they tried it with Search and Destroy, but just
No,
Third-
Fortnite is not
per-
a search and
third-
destroy
yeah.
game.
third person right hand peaks are too OP. So I don't think so.
All right, so bear with. I've thought about this a lot. Imagine we get like a Dota League of Legends style game within Fortnite. You can buy builds. There's different items or weapons and heals you could buy, and your upgrades and ultimates and different things are like a bandage bazooka or a shield, and there's different lanes and characters. Like, we don't have the tools to do this now in creative, but like, imagine waves of zombies. You have the lanes like a League of Legends or a Dota. I think they're called MOBA, right?
Yes.
And like, you do that within Fortnite, except it's a third person shooter. There's only certain places on the map you could build. You build walls to protect your towers. I think that would be so cool and a lot of fun. Or we could just do like a simple tower defense, except instead of tower defenses, you have your character, and every time you get like a wave through, you can upgrade your weapons. So maybe it does like 30 damage and then 32 damage, and you increase clip size. That would be so cool to me. I've had this idea for a while, if you can't tell.
I think the key to making like the King of the Hill, capture the flag type stuff, the key to making that stuff work would be like minimizing how many builds you could use. It can't be anything like unlimited builds or like 1,500 builds. So yeah, if they limited that, I think it could possibly work. Or maybe something where it destroys builds after a certain period of time or something like that. I don't
Oh,
know.
remember the Zone that did that?
Yeah, that was brutal.
I don't think it'll work. Like, what are we going for? Are we going for a creative game? Or are we going for competitive creative game? That's really the question, right? Because a competitive creative game is just going to be Zone Wars, right? Or it's going to be box fights. Competitive? I don't think so. I don't
Nah,
think there's
this
a
is just for fun.
yeah. So since it says you wanted like a comp creative game mode, I think the best one you would get is like a mini BR, right? Like they have those mini BRs in creative where there's 16 people. But, I mean, it's just a smaller version of the competitive mode. So I don't think it would work. It would have to be content only, IMO.
Yeah, I feel that.
All right.
Yeah.
You want to wrap this up and
Yep.
call it a day?
Clay, thank you so much again for joining on the podcast. It was a pleasure to have you. Um, People could find you on Twitter at Clay Stehling. It's under his cam. There's a little at. What other platforms? Twitch, obviously Clay Stehling. YouTube, everything Clay Stehling.
Yep. Every platform, TikTok, Clay Sailing, Instagram, I'm there.
Taylor at Somebody's Gun. All platforms. YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Anything else? Not TikTok yet, but soon.
No,
Right?
Discord. Hey, and if
Discord.
you guys are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to One Up Analytics on YouTube or go check it out now because we do this podcast every week and you can come back for the next one.
Thank you. Yeah. And me, One Up Analytics, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Yeah, thank you, Clay, so much. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. And yeah, see you guys.